Happy National Student Athletes Day. Let's talk about these creme of the crop in our schools.
The Christian Principles podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation, but bear in mind, the thoughts and opinions expressed on this episode are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation.
Welcome to the Christian Principles podcast. I'm Matt George.
I'm Mark Zonkel, excited to be coming to you from sunny North Carolina right now. Hey, happy National Student Athlete Day, Matt.
Thank you.
Being one yourself,
I'm a
obviously.
proud student athlete.
Tell us, give me your credentials. Walk me through your time as a student athlete.
Well, it was short-lived, I should say, but it started in sixth grade. We could play soccer. I don't remember if we played basketball. We may have had a JV team that I played on, but yeah, sixth grade, soccer, basketball, all throughout junior high, high school. We had one day of like a softball tournament. We did track and field. I was always the long distance runner. That was my thing.
Nice.
I did a couple other events in track and field and played on the church softball league. That was fun. And then I went to college and had no time for sports, so just did the intramurals. But man, did I rock it in intramurals, flag football, soccer, all that stuff.
It's crazy how those intramurals really were some great, even in the non-competitive form. I mean, it was competitive, but even though it wasn't like the building for a championship in a league and whatnot, it was still so meaningful, and there's so many memories tied up in that. It's your turn to ask me.
Yeah, Mark, let me ask you. What about your student athlete athletic experience?
Well, thank you very much for asking. I thought you never would. So my student athlete experience, much as yours, started in that for some middle school, for others junior high range. I was in seventh grade and I came to the school that actually had the athletics. And the first thing I did as a member of the school was to jump in and play soccer like you did. You know, at a smaller Christian school, you pulled from as low as you needed to get a full team and a couple of bench players. And I was seventh grade and playing. I wound up starting. I started backline defense. And I know for the purists in soccer out there, they would say everybody plays everywhere. But of course, we have some positions. And yeah, so I was in some versions called the sweeper, in others I was a center back. I was mainly on defense. I don't believe I have a goal in my name. I don't believe in any of my soccer competition I have any goal in my name. I do have some yellow cards. I don't have a red card, but I kind of want to and don't want to take too much time like regaling everybody. So I tell you what, think through your greatest achievement, and you get one, and I'll do one later on too. But I'll just run through my other. So I was in soccer through 12th grade, basketball, same 7th through 12th grade. We were able to play baseball actually as well, and I played 7th through 12th grade. And then it was 2 years at a college that did not have intramural athletics, but I did play intramurals, and some of those guys are still my closest friends, as you had mentioned. It's just a very different, awesome time. It was flag football and softball, but soccer and basketball were king at this institution. And there was a very significant soccer presence that actually spilled over to when I left and they got the intramurals. It spilled over to them becoming a very strong powerhouse in that realm. Anyway, but then my second university stint, I was able to play football for 2 years and baseball for 1 year. I probably shouldn't have played either one, but it was D3 and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun doing it while I did it. Yeah. So anyway, Matt, go back to you. Give me what would be like your recruitment story or the story you tell your grandkids. Like give me that one.
Man, that is hard to boil it down to one thing. But this episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment.
Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear: a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
When you need to reach families fast, GradeLink lets you send text or voice alerts right from your dashboard. It's perfect for weather closures, emergencies, or just last-minute reminders. Want quick, reliable communication? Check it out at cpp.gradelink.com. If I were to create a highlight reel for myself, I don't feel like there'd be a ton of things on that. Now, I was also a sweeper in soccer, and I did have some goals to my name. But
Ooh,
the
couple of own goals.
proudest of those, not own goals. I did have an unassisted corner kick goal, which was pretty awesome. But that was quickly followed up by two other guys on my team that same season also got unassisted corner kick goals, which is like, what in the world? Like, this is so cool. And then they just followed up. But also, I hit a goal from our side of the half.
Oh, okay.
Just launched it up and it bounced over the goalie. That was pretty cool. In basketball, I was not the big guy. I was not really the shooter. I was definitely more of the assist, feed them. And there are many passes. I played with actually two cousins, and it was one of those, I would steal the ball, take it down the court, and I would dump it behind my head without turning around because I knew he was there. There were several of those moments that were just awesome. Stealing a ball and shooting at half court with the buzzer going off, and it went in, but they waved it off because the buzzer was going off when I shot it. So like I had a bunch of those kind of moments in my sports history, but the one that stands out, and it is not my proudest achievement, but my senior year, my cousin and I, who was also in my class, were just working really hard to dunk at least one time in a basketball game. And we both had gotten really close. Of course, for me, it had to be on a breakaway. For he was a lot taller than me, so he had a lot more attempts than I did. But I had stolen the ball and I was running down the court and I knew, I was like, oh, this is it. And I go up, and what I didn't recognize was one of the defenders had gotten in front of me and stood, which immediately was like, stink, this is going to become a charge now.
Yeah.
But I had gotten so much air that my kneecap went into his shoulder blade, like into his armpit.
Yeah.
And if you understand physics at all, we created what I think is referred to as a fulcrum, and my head took a dive towards our concrete floor, and my chin took the full force of my body and split wide open. And I just never blacked out, which is interesting. But just remember looking up and just seeing the reactions of my teammates. Were like ready to barf and throw. And it's a lot of why I actually have facial hair on my chin, because you can't. It's hiding the giant scar that's underneath it. But yeah, had to go out of that game. But the best moment is one of our assistant coaches came up to me, and rather than being like, "Are you okay?" his statement to me was, "That's why you take the jump shot." I was like, "Oh, you!" It's so correct. As I took off for the hospital,
took off, some stitches in this bad boy.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a stitches story. I had a stitches story. It was basketball as well. Elbow right between my eyes. My future mother-in-law, she and another mom of one of the players on the team were both nurses, and they kind of had a back and forth about what they should do. But I wound up I went home and got stitches once I got home, I believe. They might have just glued it. I forget. Either way, but that was a hurt. If I was going to go to the top like emotional moments, if they really wouldn't come from the soccer field, I'd have to go to baseball. Never was basketball. Basketball wasn't a positive note for me, but so we go to baseball. And in our junior year, we were the regular season champs of a league we really didn't have a business being the regular season champs of, other than like all the stars aligned from the guys who played Little League and whatnot growing up were were together and we were playing well, and we won the season. And in that season, I caught, and a good friend Joel Smith was in center field playing Salisbury Christian. Ball hit out to Joel Smith in center field. He throws what we call a frozen rope, one hop to home. I, in the most legal manner, am there, receive, drop down, and actually a guy that we know now, a guy that is a neighbor of mine and someone who was a friend of the school, a church member before that, got concussed when I dropped the tag on him. So it was a highlight for me. It was a low light for him. It was a great collision at the plate, and it was awesome. It was definitely a highlight time. The other would be the last at bat as a senior was a home run. It was a Greenwood
Can't beat
Mennonite,
that.
center field, 34, drop 3, 34, 31 bat. One of those, I think it was an Easton connection back in the day. And we didn't win the game, but I took them deep. And
Still,
it was sick. Yeah, I was
you
pumped.
dream of that stuff. That's
it really was.
Last at bat, putting it over the fence. Boy, yeah.
It really was. You know, we wouldn't have had those opportunities without our schools, right? I mean,
Right.
our Christian schools gave us those opportunities. And though neither of us went to the 2,000 member, independent Christian school, we still had those opportunities that did mean something, and they'll mean something to our kids and those around us, and they meant something to our schools, right? Our athletic directors of those little Christian schools gave more than they do. I'm sure their stipend, if they got the stipend more than they covered, they spent more time with us and poured more into us. So that's amazing. And they should be receiving a lot of thanks and praise for what it is that they offered to us. Because again, they offered a lot. And my athletic director growing up was Mr. Merritt Price. And he was my athletic director the entire time I was in school. And then going into college, it was Mr. Rob Thompson acting as my athletic director. Oh, there you go. Actually saw it. Yeah, we saw him recently at the ODAX conference. Yeah. He actually, Andrew and I went on a date one time to the local Mexican restaurant in Watertown, Wisconsin, and he and his wife covered our bill. And I'll always remember that, like his kindness in that way that was completely unnecessary. Didn't have to do that. He totally did it for us. It was amazing. Who was your AD, Matt?
Yeah, I had a couple of different athletic directors throughout my high school years, because the first one, who was, also these guys, I was thinking about this when you were introducing this point in our episode, is a lot of these athletic directors were also our coaches. Like they were doing double duty in that sense.
Yep.
But yeah, both my athletic directors were also my coaches. The first being Todd Beeman, who is now a missionary in Zambia, Africa, and learned a lot from him. And it was funny, I had a conversation with him a little while ago, and he's like, I probably should have been put in jail for what I put you guys through. Meaning, like the conditioning, he was just like, I said, no, my calves are still in shape, I believe, because of him.
That's amazing.
And then Mark Plant was his replacement, who came in and took over as athletic director and coach, and even now kind of as their administrator without an administrator.
Sure.
Just awesome. And then, of course, as an administrator myself, I've had several athletic directors. I don't know what that says about me necessarily, that I've had quite a few, because we talked. You brought up Merritt, and everybody keeps talking to me about Merritt Price and his longevity, and then I can't hang on to an athletic director to save my life.
You better hang on to this one, though.
Well, this one will be a little bit more challenging to get away. So I am thankful for the many. I played the role for a little while, and then I hired Allison Stilley and got her going on that. And then she handed it over to my wife. And so, it would be kind of difficult, but I wouldn't be surprised. She's a hard negotiator. She's probably the worst one when it comes to, she'll come in and she'll be like, listen, you do this or I'm walking. And I, what am I going to do? I can't do.
Like, fine,
I can't defeat that.
Pull that card. That's awesome. My stints, I was blessed to see, Clayton Hearn was an AD for me for a bit. I think I actually, in my original year, I think I was the AD. And then in my second stint, Mr. Good old Joe, he was our AD. I mean, I was serving as AD, and then Joe came in as the AD. What a blessing. Still there doing that. All right. Okay. So talking about us plenty enough, and it was fun to recount those things with you when we talked about our ADs now, but we have an audience of Christian school administrators, Lord willing. So let's assume most of them were student athletes themselves in some way, shape, or form. What are some things we're telling them, we're reminding them of, we're igniting a passion in them about again, or just warning them of, because they've probably seen and heard most of it out there, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't think we're really going to be sharing a whole lot that's new. I know there were two things that came up recently that, especially when I knew this episode was coming up, that I wanted to make sure
Mm-hmm.
I got out there. But the big one, I think, is I saw, and this is the time where we're recording. March Madness is wrapping up, and so there's a lot of attention on student athletes around this time, which is maybe why Student Athlete Day is today. I saw a stat that the top students in most schools, and
Mm-hmm.
when we say top students, we're talking top academically,
Yep.
tend to be student athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers
Which
show that for sure.
you would assume maybe, and I know definitely our kids in high school might try to, pull this card on you every once in a while. I'm too busy. When can I study? When can I do homework? I don't have ever had any time because I'm practicing or I'm going to a game. And there's mystery in that, yeah, they are so busy. They shouldn't be
Yeah.
the top. But
Yeah.
I think there's something about the work ethic. There's something about the drive that sports offers that when you bring it into the academic, when you bring it into the classroom, it's going to have a positive impact. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I understand. And being an athlete and being one who still enjoys athletics, I would tend to believe that, yes, far more often than not, if I can get a student to get involved in something that's going to further them as a member of the body, which is the school, it's probably going to help them stay focused on it. Actually, ironically, help them stay focused on their athletics. If there is that stick of you got to have a certain letter grade, or they're going to just be again tethered to the body of the school in a stronger way. And again, at our Christian schools, Lord willing, there is serious spiritual formation going on the athletic field, which we know is
Mhm.
not the case. And that's something that I guess if I was going to point to something to remind everybody of, I would point us back to an original, really the only other athletic conversation we've had on this podcast was with our friend from Illinois who was speaking to us about the way in which he had envisioned his athletic department as he was building out his athletic department. He thought it was even somewhat unique in their handbook, and he presented that to us and to our listeners. And we were challenged, and that's actually one of our best episodes now as far as listenership
Mhm.
goes. But we were challenged, and we should be challenging ourselves. What new ways can, not just praying after a game, what new ways can I introduce to my student athletes to challenge them to be more like Christ, to challenge them to be building out that muscle? So many metaphors to offer up here,
Oh
but
yeah.
building out that muscle, that spiritual muscle, as much as they're building out everything else. And in our Christian schools, we better be doing that well, because we know that to go into another point here, we know that our parents want these opportunities for their
Yeah.
kids. If we're speaking to I just stopped into Accomack Christian Academy in Accomack, Virginia. Candy Barnes was with us at the Max
Mhm.
Administrators Retreat, and I was speaking to Pastor Jonathan Budd there at ACA, and he was speaking to me, humbly so. What would you suggest, basically, where we're going to bring on an athletic director, and we have an idea for what we'd like to do, but what would you suggest? And the easiest answer is basketball takes five. So
Mhm.
if you got a tiny little school, then you cobble together, fifth or eighth graders to play a middle school basketball away schedule. And maybe you're out there and you are asking those questions of, I got to start somewhere. What do I do? Because my parents, they're they've enjoyed this startup for what it is, but their kids are getting older and they're definitely going to want some of these opportunities. Look at what you can do. Don't try to swing for the stars immediately, because you're not going to get there. But what it is that you are able to do, and celebrate that. But make sure it's unique to your mission. Keep your
Mhm.
mission in mind and say, what am I doing to, especially in those early years, make sure, and then for us reviewing those times, how am I making sure that these student athletes are mission appropriate student athletes, which
Yeah.
I know that gets blurred. I know there's plenty of Christian schools out there where that gets very blurred. There, the students would tell you, and this is, collegiate as well. Students would tell you, well, the backbone of the students that goes to XYZ Christian school, it's actually not the athletes, because the athletes, they come in and they're here for a semester and they're gone, or they're here for a
Mhm.
season and they're gone, or they get preferred treatment. How many times I hear that?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we may it not be said of our schools that that's the case. May it be said that our student athletes, like whatever their preferred treatment is, sure, they might get a jersey or something, or they might get, their warm-up pack out, but whatever, but probably should be ending there, where they feel
Yeah.
in some ways, or their fellow students in some ways feel like they're getting something over on the rest of them just because they're student athletes. I get it. We live in America. We live in a place where that's probably more common than many other places, or at least as common, but we should be striving for something different. And that's a fine line, right?
Yeah, and it is a fine line. And when you're talking about, the mission centered, why do we have athletics? And even I'm sure as academic is bringing up, we're gonna start this. It's not like the Israelites. Well, everybody else has a king, so we should have a king too. Right? It can't be that. It can't be. Well, we've got these kids that we know are going places. They're going to the NBA. They're going to the NFL. So we need to have this program to support them in that. Like, that's not our mission, unless you live in Greenwood, Delaware, and you've got something in your water that's just making your children into superhumans. But, unless that is, your specific mission. But I would say that the vast majority of Christian schools are not being created to create superstar athletes. We're created to pass on to the next generation the importance of the gospel and how the gospel affects every aspect of our life. And the only way you can really demonstrate that, and that's the way I think about it in our school, the way to demonstrate Christian character hitting every aspect of your life is to have an athletics program, to have a fine arts program, to have hands-on tech skills, and to have obviously the academic knowledge and community centeredness and all, every walk of life, and show that there's a balance. There's a not just a balance. You're 100% giving God glory in everything that you do.
Yeah.
And so, athletics gives you the opportunity to demonstrate that in that venue. And I loved in
Yeah.
our episode that we were talking about competition a lot, and how competition means to strive with, not against. And, you are getting immediate feedback as to, okay, here's what we've been applying it as a team. And now here's another Christian school team that we're going to be playing against. Oh, wow. They're demonstrating it in a different way than us. And sadly, I feel like most of the time that's a negative, different way, but it's feedback. And you as a coach are saying, okay, guys, what do you think about that? Like, is that what we're called to do? Is that what is the important thing? And you work
Yeah.
through those things as a team. So it
No, I
does
did.
make sense then that athletes do have that, a different drive, a different motivation. I'll share this too, because I thought this was interesting in that I remember hearing for the very first time the phrase "by the skin of your teeth." I was a seventh grader. Todd Beeman said this to me when going through the first round of eligibility, and I almost got cut from the soccer team. And boy, did I just
man.
immediately start sweating and realize, hey, I got to get my act together or else this isn't going to work. So,
Yeah, seriously.
there's different motivation for athletics to be successful in other aspects of school.
So there was a statement you made a bit ago when you were talking about fine arts and tech skills and athletics. And I don't believe what you were trying to say was a school can't be a solid school without those things. You would disagree with yourself on that. I do believe what you're trying to say is when a school does consider bringing those things on, when a Christian school considers bringing those things on, you've got to consider, how am I doing this to glorify God? How am I doing this to be in alignment with our mission? And if you're not doing that, you could be setting yourself up for bringing on more issues than you previously had, simply just trying to do academics. So maybe don't do it, but make sure that it's a mission fit. On this National Student Athlete Day, we celebrate our sons and our daughters, our various, middle school, JV, varsity athletics. Offer yourself the opportunity to enjoy them. I know for administrators, many times it's one of the harder parts of what we do. I've long said that as long as we have homework, and as long as we have dress codes, and really as long as we have athletics, there will be headaches. Like, these things will always be with us. But when done well, when done to glorify God, there is little that brings your school family together across so many boundaries than athletics.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, it's just it is what it is. People don't want to hear that. And to be honest, like there's some admins like, I don't want athletics to be so dominant. And I get that, but it is. There are families that will absolutely go to a different school because of athletics. And we would say, well, maybe we don't want to part with those families because that's not our mission. You can have that stance. No one's robbing you of taking that stance. But just be aware an athletic program holds that kind of sway, and it's something that we have to contend with where we are, for sure.
Yeah. I would challenge the idea that, as the administrator, I've got an athletic director, so I just let him, focus on promoting and pushing and recruiting and all those different kind of things. Just because of that point that, your school spirit, Spirit Week is usually built around athletics, typically, not always, I understand that. But many times it is most effective when it's built around athletics. You have a lot to gain by being invested as an administrator, as a school leader in your athletic program, encouraging your kids to be a part of it, especially when you look at the reality that student athletes tend to be the best students. We do have to deal with eligibility. I understand that. And there are disciplinary measures that may cause us to have to not allow somebody to be a part of a team for a time or something. But we really ought to start thinking about athletics in a way of, if you have a student who's struggling, athletics might need to be a part of the solution. Get them involved. And I know they may say, well, I'm not athletic, or I don't like the sport, but it would be definitely a good thing to consider and at least push to get more participation. I can tell you, I've got, two hands, and I've just about got those two hands filled up with students who at first told me, oh, I'm not athletic, or I don't play that sport, or it's just not for me. And then got them to just join the team one time, and they became good athletes, and they actually fell in love with the sport, which was exciting to see. I do believe, they became a better student because of it too. All right. Thank you to all of our student athletes. That's going to do it for this episode. We are going to move into our shout out. And again, since Mark is on the road, I'm just going to do this one all myself. We are thankful for Mr. Walter Wiggins of the Laga School. We shouted them out a little while ago in Moscow, Idaho. And Mr. Walter Wiggins, the secondary principal. And so I'm going to pray for you and hope things are going well. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for Walter and his contribution to the Laga School as he works with the secondary. I don't know if they have an athletics program or if they have an athletic director, or perhaps if he has to oversee that. But I know even as he's looking for opportunities to encourage his students to do their best to bring you honor and glory, perhaps athletics is an aspect that they are involved in. But if not, Lord, I just pray that you would encourage him in whatever way he needs to be encouraged as he's wrapping up his school year, that you would just bring him the support that he needs, that you would allow him to find creative ways to just continue to inspire his students to follow you in everything that they do, be with him personally, whatever struggles he may be dealing with. I just pray that you give him the answers that he needs. Lord, thank you for just this brother in Christ that we have all the way on the other side of the country, that we can encourage him in this way. I just pray that you would be with us now. May we continue to bring you honor and glory in all that we do. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, folks, thank you for joining us with each and every episode. Encourage you to get connected with us in some way, whether through Facebook or our website. And we'd love to be able to hear more ideas of things that we could talk about on the podcast. Give us a like on all of our different social medias, on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. We're thankful for every part of this collaboration that we get to have with you twice a week. And as always, thanks for growing with us today. We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader.
One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.